Hi, welcome to Numerix Video Blog. I'm your host, Jim Jockle. OTC markets are clearly becoming much more evolved, much more automated, and looking to a new future within an institution. So to that end, building trading and risk systems capable of executing these capabilities is extremely challenging and an overwhelming task. And it really encompasses three things. 1, time. 2, budget. And 3, development expertise. Joining me today to discuss this is Bill Dwyer, Vice President of Numerix Business Development Group. Bill, how are you?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Very good. So why don't we just start right at the beginning? What are the core industry challenges that are really driving the electrification of markets?
Like a lot of things that are happening in the markets today, and in the OTC derivatives markets, we're living in interesting times, obviously. A lot of the change is being driven by reg. Not all, but a lot. Since 2008, of course, we've seen a lot of new layers of macroprudential regulation for market risk and counterparty credit risk, and there'll only be more with FRTB coming on in the future. That will, in turn, change the fundamental profitability equation in a lot of these businesses. So there's a lot of just fundamental questions. Should I be in this business at all? But I guess more relevant to this discussion, though, is that the structural reforms in the derivatives markets, moving large swathes of the OTC market to CEFs and to clearinghouses, sort of has created an environment where I'd say the market is looking more flow-like, so it's not to say that it's going to turn into cash equities overnight, but it's changed from a voice-driven, highly bespoke bilateral market to a much higher velocity, or in the future to be higher velocity, electronically traded market. So that changes sort of the fundamental computational equation inside of a bank in terms of calculating things, pricing, in terms of calculating risk. If the market's moving at higher velocity, you might want to do a lot more things intraday, limits, margining, all those kinds of things.
So in many ways, you're just looking to get the right answer faster.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean, and so again, a lot of this stuff is it's not like you can go to an exchange and find these prices. A lot of these things in the OTC market are priced by using models. They're all priced using models, in fact. And if you're then risk calculations are based on those same kind of models. So some of these things are computationally expensive and are difficult to execute quickly like that. And traditionally, they've been done overnight, right? So you're looking at a kind of a big shift here.
So when we think about it, there's you go on LinkedIn, you go on the news, everything's cloud and AI and all the future, right. And going even beyond just the basics and fundamentals you're talking about. So practically, what challenges does this present for CTOs today?
In terms of doing things in near real time or intraday or real time, I guess a lot of the infrastructure it's been designed to support OTC derivatives businesses and OTC markets just was not conceived in that way. It was conceived for a time when things were done kind of more in an overnight batch-oriented way. Trades were not coming in as quickly. They didn't need to be priced based on electronic RFQs. There were not things like counterparty credit risk to take into account, which is an expensive calculation, as you know, because we're right in that space. A lot of systems that do perfectly well for booking trades and managing the sort of post-trade processing and everything, but weren't designed to do real-time risk in any significant way. And this includes just about any mainstream commercial front-to-back system you can name in our space.
So when you think of OTC trading systems, risk systems, there's always the build versus buy. Do we do it from scratch and develop it on the way up? There's so many technologies out there like SEP engines and things and pieces that can all be brought together to build the perfect platform. And let's not understate the importance of workflow. But how does a development and technology organization respond to and think about all of the technology that's available now?
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, I must say. If you're a market maker in these markets, you've probably already recognized the need to do this. And indeed, let's say the top 8 or 10 banks in the world, the real true tier ones, recognize this a while. And by and large, they went out and just developed these things from scratch using, almost from the ground up. Although, sometimes using, various building blocks, either open source or commercial middleware, things like that. It's difficult to do, right? So we've talked to a few people out there. It took them in the range of 40 to 50 to 60 man years just to get first versions out the door, multiple years to get these real-time risk engines up and running. I think a big problem, and I think we're here to explore in this conversation, is the not only do you need to create a scalable infrastructure to support calculations, but you need, for OTC markets, you need to support a complex web of interdependencies. So, for example, if you've got a point on the US dollar LIBOR curve that's changed, you need to rebootstrap that curve, and then you need to say, okay, I want to recalculate everything that's dependent on that piece of data. So I want to recalculate my PVs and my Greeks and whatever other number I might be concerned with. You want to do that work and only that work. So you only want to recalculate those things that are dependent on that which has changed in a sort of event-driven way. So that change, that event, needs to ripple through the wave of the sort of web of dependencies, and that's actually hard to achieve when you're starting to talk about hundreds and thousands of trades and thousands and thousands of different market data points and new trades coming in and things coming in from user communities. Sort of, how do I manage that web of interdependencies so that I'm doing only the calculations that I need to do at any given time?
Well, luckily LIBOR is going away, so problem solved.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So